Well, no doubt there's a lot there, and I'll try not to talk fast. But um, let me start with the whole denying the cross issue. Okay, if we take this literal, um, there's two main options that I see if we take it literal. And that's number one, that he's talking about their martyrdom, that they're willing to die for Jesus Christ. Because there's other passages like where Jesus says, will you be able to drink of my cup and of my baptism? And it said, we are able. And it says, indeed, you will drink of that. And so there's that aspect. But there was an exegetical paper, I can't remember the name of it, but it made the argument that it, the idea of taking up one's cross related more towards submission to the will of God, because it went back to uh, like Simon the Cyrene, who carried Jesus's cross, that Roman tradition. And so the overall idea of it is submission and some service. Now we know that all Christians don't die as martyrs, and some people will say, yeah, but you got to be willing to. Well, if you make that argument, then you're adding a concept of willingness in there. Okay, but so if we're not saying martyrdom saves, then we have to recognize something else is going on here. It's the idea of submission or and service. And then number two, it's a pass. I take the passage to be about discipleship, not about positional salvation. I believe he's talking about that path of discipleship, because you can study the word and not all disciples are Christian and not all Christians are disciples. The Pharisees had their disciples. Um, there's been several different explanations of this. You know, there's the curious disciple, there's the committed disciple, there's the convinced disciple. There's various levels of discipleship, because discipleship involves growth and not everybody's in the same place. You know, so you have that aspect going on. Another thing that was kind of confusing and is the term indicative and subjunctive has been thrown out there, and the statement was being used as if indicative means reality, and indicative does not mean the mood of certainty. It does not mean the mood of reality. Rather, it's the portrayal of reality. In other words, it's not a one-for-one correspondence with that. The also the but the subjunctive being called the mood of potentiality or probability, that's related there. However, what really makes those drive home is whenever they're attached with, like, for example, Hina with the subjunctive and things like that. But I think the way that y'all were using the indicative was in the sense of it's being more descriptive rather than. But when I looked at the passage that y'all mentioned, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself. That is an imperative. So we're dealing with a different mood than the indicative. We're dealing with the imperative, and of course, the imperative most of the time deals with the imperative of command. And there's different ways to get people to do certain actions and stuff like that. So I wanted to mention those things. Now going to Abraham.